welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen. With me today are Janine B. and Bridget D. This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today.
Hi. I'm so excited.
To be back.
Yes.
We've had so many guests lately, and these two were just sitting here like, oh God, I can't believe I'm back. This is great.
Feels like we've been gone for a month.
And well, we have actually, in a way.
That's true, yeah.
I think we've had like 9 weeks of guests, it's perfectly cool, right? To have all these guests and these new information.
Great ones too, yeah.
Yeah. But it's really nice to just be kind of us.
It is. Yes. It's kind of like a way of reconnecting. And plus, since the last time the three of us did a show together, there's been another significant change because now all three of us are tired boot campers.
That's right.
Yes, we are.
That's right. We are.
I mean, that's pretty hot.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And it's fun to share the stories and to share the experiences too. We can probably spend a fair amount of time talking about that today, but it's really something to go through something like this with people
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because they kind of get your journey. They're on it with you. I mean, we're in the same, well, I don't want to say storm. We're on the same storm, but we're on different boats, right? Yes. And so we're all like experiencing this Taya together, but we're coming at it from a different, like from our own points of view. So
exactly.
Like our own experiences.
Now, it was worthwhile to have these people on as guests. One of them
Absolutely.
was Selena Dorsey, was on just a week or two ago, and she invited me to be part of the Law of Attraction World Summit. I recorded that with her just yesterday.
Wow.
And we now have the dates on that, so I wanted to make sure I shared the dates because, there's a lot of people we know who are going to be involved. I'll be there. Rita Giganti, David Strickle, Neo Positivity, Daniel Mangano. Those are some of the people who are going to be part of the roster, and a really amazing roster. Some of the people from The Secret, Bob Doyle, Marie Diamond, Dr. Joe Vitale are going to be there.
Big.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Andrew Kaplan, who's been on the show previously. A lot of really good names coming in on this particular round of the Law of Attraction World Summit. And the dates, I actually just found it. I hadn't actually seen the announcement. Selena said she was going to send me stuff, but I hadn't gotten anything from her yet. But according to the webpage, it's October 25th, 26th, and 27th. Okay. And so I'll start including a link to that page in the description for this episode because you'll want to sign up for it. It's a free 3-day virtual Law of Attraction World Summit. There is a paid portion to it. I think the way it works is if you want to have access to the recordings for like 3 months afterward, you pay a fee for that. But you can actually just attend the thing for free. So it's really,
nice.
Really worthwhile. Yeah.
A lot of goodies in one place.
Yeah, how about that?
Right?
Yeah.
It's like a convenience store. I love it.
One-stop shop.
One-stop shop.
Yeah.
Welcome to the 7-Eleven of Law of Attraction.
7-Eleven. They build them like here we have Circle K's. And they used to build them like across the street from each other. Like, really?
Of course.
2 or 3 on the same corner. And then, of course, after 10 years, it's down to 1, right? Because you can't sustain 2 or 3 of them on the same corner. It's crazy. Anyway.
Well, that's actually a trend that was started by McDonald's and Burger King. Because they used to build stuff. Yeah, they started many years ago, back in the 70s, they started building stores across the street from each other. And they actually thrived doing that. They were both able to do well doing that kind of thing. So it isn't something that always works, but it does sometimes work. So you can kind of understand why they would do it. But convenience stores, especially if they're pumping gas, that can get a little bit crowded.
It can. Oh, and I want to apologize. I have a cold. It's like my first cold down to the date in 2 years. And just the other day I was thinking, I've forgotten what it's like to have a cold. Bam. There's my cold. And believe me, I ain't missing anything. I'm not missing anything. I don't want this. Anyway.
Well, you have a good cold voice, so. You do.
Like my 1 pack, a cigarette pack a day smoking voice. It's like, no, Anyway, but it's a bummer because I can't work with my old peeps sick. Oh, so you can't. I don't even know what the because of COVID and people don't want to work with other people being sick. So what's the new what's the new ethics around working while you're sick? What's, like, I remember being told go into work even if you're sick. And now it's like, really, are we doing that anymore? I don't know.
I would say get into self-care.
Yeah.
Because that's just a subtext, a subsection of self-care. So if you're not giving yourself enough self-care and maybe getting the cold is kind of a signal of that, time to do some more self-care.
Well, there's that, but my husband came back from his business trip sick, so there's that too. And now
so you have reinforcement.
Yes, my pointing next door, my stepson is sick as well. So, it's just, we're human beings. We're in this body. We get vibrationally wonky sometimes, and it's just going to happen.
So there's a whole family of people who need some self-care.
Yeah, probably. Never. I just wonder, wearing masks all the time, how does a cold come through when we protect ourselves from COVID? But that's a whole different story.
Well, without getting into the science side of it, I think we can say one thing's for sure: vibration.
Mm-hmm. True.
I mean, the universe will find a way to deliver, no matter what it is. It'll find a way in ways that don't necessarily give us a clue up front, but
it'll
find a way.
Yep. So in the last 2 years, you've never had a cold like has your husband, and you never caught it, or okay, neither of you.
No, because the last cold I got was in October of 2019, and then the virus hit, and then everybody's wearing masks, and but he put it in his vibration that he really wants to catch COVID. So I'm like, dude, you catch COVID, you're sleeping in the garage because you're not coming in here. But that's a different story. Yeah. Have you been, Bridge? How's it going with you?
Good. I can't complain. I'm here with you guys. This is my happy hour with water. So hey, this is great. Yeah, it's my happy hour with water.
Water is a good self-care thing. Very good self-care thing. Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
And like we mentioned, you're the newest boot camper. How are you liking boot camp?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love it. I'm so glad I joined. So glad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I knew it from the get-go that I wanted to. And, I really did. I knew I wanted to. And I don't know, it was probably just like the fear and, the money and the, what if I, all the fear aspects of it.
The limiting beliefs.
Yeah. After like a week of thinking that, I'm like, why am I thinking that? I'm just going to do it. Screw it. So yeah, no, I couldn't be happier that I had. So yeah.
I'm curious. Because when I first joined, almost everybody who goes through boot camp at one point or another, they run into their really tough module, the one that just throws them for a loop. For me, it was the first one. I'm not sure which one.
That was me too.
It was you too? Okay, I wasn't sure. Have you run into that yet, Bridge, or has that not come upon you?
I think that module one's probably the one that gave me the most like clarity, to be honest, because once I started journaling, I just couldn't stop. So it was kind of good. It kind of helped me throughout like some of the modules after that, because I already uncovered like all this crap that like I didn't even mean to write in module one. It was just like, so I'm like, oh my God. Oh, okay. So I go to a different module and I'm like, oh yeah, like I figured that out in module one. So that was helpful, I do think that sometimes, and I talked to David about it, I think I was hammering for a little bit because I'm like, always, I am like you said, you go to work when you're sick. It was just like, you never stop doing anything. You never don't go to, you show up for everything. You know what I mean? So I think I was hammering for a little bit. And that's when I got sick, and I'm not surprised at all.
You got sick too? Wait a minute.
When I wasn't on here for our anniversary, actually, I was in the hospital that day. So yeah, I think I caused my own spin out. Yeah.
Do you feel comfortable sharing that?
Yeah, I'm fine. And I really just think it was like my own stress that I was putting on myself with that, and then stressors just at home in life, like, everything at once. But I think that I was using my tired tools, but I also wasn't, because I was hammering. You know what I mean? It's a bunch of different things, but I could see how I caused my own spin out.
Wow.
Well, that's good,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, being able to identify,
but it's all good.
That's fabulous. That's a huge portion of what you're trying to do with the TIA bootcamp, is identify what are the transgressors, as they're called, and what are the root transgressors, and are what you are currently experiencing tying into the root transgressors. And
right.
I'm constantly. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out like, okay, like, what part did I play? Or even just sitting there and simply appreciating things when I was, down my spiral in that, in the hospital, whatever. Like, what can I appreciate here? What can, you know, so using the Taya tools definitely helped me throughout the whole entire thing. It would have been way worse if I didn't have it, and if I didn't join, to be honest. So yeah, it's all good.
I have to say, one of my favorite things that I picked up, probably the biggest thing I picked up so far in Taya, is their 3-step tool, which there's still a discussion within boot camp about what to call it. I tried to get that discussion going, and I get the latest one is initials, an acronym, turning it into an acronym in terms of what the 3 steps are: low thought activity, appreciation, and the meditation. So LAM is the current top runner for a name for it. But that 3-step process, I hadn't run into that one before. I'd never encountered that. And the first time I tried it, I was really pretty low. And I got up to feeling good after just the first 2 steps. I haven't had to do all 3 steps yet. Have you had to do all 3 steps, either one of you?
Oh, yeah. And sometimes I do the different steps at different times, like, low thought activity, and then I'm good to go to meditate, or doing the appreciation, and then I'm good to meditate, or I just don't meditate and I just sit in appreciation, because sometimes if I'm happy enough, or if I'm high enough, then it's like meditation just seems like something it's kind of irrelevant at that point, because the goal is to not always have to be in meditation, right? It's to kind of live our lives in a higher vibration, and that's what I'm always shooting for. But meditation is super cool, and I'm experimenting with different ways of doing it. But yeah, I've used all 3 sometimes together and sometimes at different times.
Yeah, have you done all 3 in sequence in the way that it was originally laid out by David?
I mean, a couple of times, maybe a few times.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's weird, because a lot of that I knew that the low thought activity was something. I mean, most of us, we get to a certain age, it's like we need to take our heads out of things. We go on long drives, we go on walks, and we just never thought of that as low thought activity.
Right.
And and so it's just kind of bringing it all together in a cohesive sort of way of looking at it, and doing that, kind of a step process.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's what was new for me, was training them together, stringing them together, one followed by the second, followed by the third. I hadn't thought about doing that, and that is a really powerful thing. Even when I had my big crash, you may remember, Janine, I had this really big crash in July. I did the first 2 steps, and that was enough. I was like really blown away by that. I'm still waiting for the incident where I have to do all 3 in order to get up. I don't know if I imagine it'll happen. I'm certainly not going to try to attract it, but at some point, I mean, stuff does happen.
But I wanted to say, because I know I said this to you, Walt, before the show, but you were the one that inspired me, because I've been listening to your show for a few years now. And then when David came on, and boy, I just got really interested. And then when you said you joined boot camp, I'm like, that's when it really because I have this fear of commitment, And when I said, okay, Walt did it, I can do it. And so thank you, Walt. And if anyone else if you're in a position where you can do it, and if you're on the fence about doing it, it really, the self-care aspect of doing it, just do it for self-care. If no other reason, do it for self-care, because my life is so magical. I know it was magical before, but it's purposeful magical. It's weird. I can't put my finger on it. The things that have been happening lately. I mean, I can share, but I don't want to monopolize. But if you're really if you're on the fence about doing the boot camp, I'm just, oh my gosh, talk to somebody who's done it, because. So I've been wanting to do my doulaship for the dying. I've inadvertently been a doula for people who are dying, because I'm a caregiver, and my first and my second client, I might have said this before, passed away with me, and I just realized that's my calling. So I right before Taya, I went through a month-long course, and to become a doula. It's not a real thing yet as we know it, but it's there. People help other people passing away, and I don't know how I'm going to make money on this. It doesn't really matter. I wanted to get started. So last week I was on Facebook, and I was in one of my sites, and I read this this woman's name. Her name was Silver. Oh, I'm not going to say it. Her name was really interesting. It was very interesting. And it made me click on it. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. And I clicked on her name and realized that she's here in my city. And I reached out to her, and she's a doula, and she's been working through a for-profit hospice who embraces doulaships, because the hospice that I volunteer for is nonprofit and does not embrace doulaships.
Interesting.
And so my thinking had always been, for-profit hospice, not good, nonprofit, good. But I realized that was a limiting belief that was keeping me from going to my next step. So my next step is I have, I called up the hospice. I'm going to fit right in. I have a meeting on Thursday. I'm going to get in. We're going to talk about, it's all volunteers. So there's no money at this point. It doesn't matter. I'm going to do what I love to do, and we'll go from there.
Good for you.
It's like following the breadcrumbs, following the trail, knowing that when you put your foot down on the next step it's solid. It's solid, And so, the value in taking this course I just can't put it into words.
That's awesome.
Excellent. Well, that's fabulous. And thank you so much for the credit. I appreciate that. I think you deserve the credit, but I'm glad I was able to help out. That's a good thing.
Well, I just love how we really all sort of influence each other, really, at the end of the day, don't we? I mean, human beings, that's just so, it's so important on who we're around and who we keep company with. And, like they say, you lie down with dogs, you're going to get fleas. Just pay more attention to who you're hanging out with, what you're saying, what groups you're on Facebook with, right? Who you're interacting with on Facebook. All of this really just contributes to our energy. Oh, yeah. And I don't even have to think about it anymore. I'm just running into really cool people everywhere I go. And world is just magical. It is. It's just magical.
So is your vibes probably always close to the top all the time now, I feel like?
Yeah, it's hard to be like total top. It's hard to be really high all the time when your foot's hurting, or when because I blew out my foot about a month ago and it's feeling better, but or when you're sick. I mean,
but your vibe just seems so much, I feel like, more like light and airy, and like, I don't know. I do. Since you were even on the show, Yeah,
I feel that. I feel that I've raised my vibration to a natural higher set point.
Yeah.
And it's weird because I've heard people say, well, when you start raising your vibration, people start to think that you're weird. And I'm kind of getting, I'm kind of getting a little bit of that. And it's kind of off-putting when your family members start to tell you that you're kind of weird, or you're, and you start to see the relationships that you're in and how they don't work for you anymore, how they are.
Personally, when somebody says that I'm weird, I thank them.
Yeah, there you go.
Because they noticed. Like, I'm glad that you noticed, and thanks for letting me know. And, since I knew what weird actually means, I feel really good about that.
I like that. That's super cool.
Oh, I wanted to mention something. You had earlier mentioned about if you're kind of on the fence, do it, which I agree. I think it's a great thing to do. One other thing I would throw in there, if you're on the fence because you're not sure you're willing to actually do the work.
Oh, right.
Make sure you're willing to do the work, because
there's that.
You're going to be facing some really hardcore stuff in yourself. That's just part of that whole
there is
process.
That. Yeah, you're right about that. It's more of like, if financially, if you've got some abundance blocks and you're afraid to do it, or like me, honestly, I was never a joiner. I joined the gym. That's what I joined. Okay. I mean, seriously, it's like, I never was in clubs in school. Because things never vibrated with me. It didn't vibe. I'm very particular about my vibration. And if it vibrates with me, I'll do it. If it doesn't, I won't. And I even did another LOA. Well, I don't want to call David LOA, but in the same vein, 6 months before I got involved with David, and I tried it for 2 weeks. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. It just did not resonate with me. And so it's so for me, it resonates, but I don't know if it would resonate for anyone else. We're all, like David says, we're on our journeys. We're not meant to be heading in the same direction, and it's okay. It's all good.
Yeah.
It just works for me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Mhm.
And the other thing that that kind of fuels in me, that kind of feeds the idea to me, is something I saw in a sitcom one time. I remember this one character in a sitcom saying, "Yeah, I joined a gym, but then it didn't really work out." And a friend asked, "Why didn't it work out?" "Because I found out I had to actually go."
That's it.
Yeah, really.
I wasn't going to lose any weight unless I went to the gym. Like, oh, gee. So yeah, you have to actually be willing to go. It's kind of like trying to become a black belt in karate, but not, actually go to the gym and put up all the shouting that goes on. If you can't put up with the shouting, just, do something else. Don't do the karate. But
Right.
if you're willing to do it, if you're feeling good that you could actually dive in and do it, I totally agree. It is very much worth it.
Oh, yeah.
Very much worth it.
And if you can't, and you're still interested, David has, really everything you need. And he says this, everything you need are on his recordings. Everything
That's
you need.
true. Which you can get in the
Everything.
chiropractic, which is a group that's open to
Right.
anybody. So yeah.
Right. Everything. But what's really cool about the boot camp is the one-on-one help, the group helps, the group calls, the group, the Zoom meetings, the one-on-ones. All those are just really the modules working more intently.
That's the word.
I felt like intently. Yeah.
Yeah. This is an intensive, is what boot camp is. It's the intensive way to learn. You really want to dive in and get this stuff done and just really throw yourself.
Intently and intensely.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's, like you have to have intention of doing it, and you have to be willing to do the work. And it's not for the faint of heart.
No.
It's really not, but it's so worth it.
Yes.
The end results.
I'm curious about one thing though. Now that I got two boot campers that I'm talking to, so you guys know exactly what I'm talking about here. This has one thing in common with virtually every other coaching situation I've heard of, class, any kind of program that I've ever heard of. It has the same thing in common. And the thing that's particularly interesting about this thing I'm about to mention is that it has in the name Taya the very thing that seems to be kind of not missing, but kind of downplayed. Because Taya stands, as you guys know, stands for trust your abundance.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys noticed we don't actually spend a whole lot of time talking about abundance?
Yeah, go ahead. Bridge, you go first.
I do. Yeah, I do feel like, well, no, you're fine. I do feel like, when it's called, Taya boot camp, I feel like you immediately go more to the word boot camp.
Yeah.
Than you do to Taya. And it is really Taya, trust your abundance. 100%. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Because what you're really trying to do is you're trying to get over those blocks and those resistance points. You're trying, that you have to do this stuff in order to get to that abundance space. So that's why we call it trusting your abundance. But it's really odd. We rarely talk about what abundance feels like.
Well, we can do that. We can do that here.
We certainly can.
And I think, like you said, it's like, that's almost like, that's the given. It's like the sky's blue. Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right, we know that already. So it's just like, okay, these are the steps to allow trust. Because I will tell you, if I've gotten the biggest thing I got out of this course was trusting. That was the biggest thing, because once you start trusting, then it's like the right people show up, the right situation shows up, and it's a continuity issue. It's not just a one-off, because before Taya, I had so many one-offs. A lot of things, manifesting things all the time. Everything is magical, right? But it's the continuity of it that's now in my life that wasn't before. So
are you guys finding also what I found, which is that the trust, it isn't something that is that you're consciously building. It's a result of the work that you do, and just kind of shows up.
Yeah. Oh,
exactly. Because I will tell you, I came from a situation as a child where, I forgot what trust means. I didn't know, really, honestly, I completely forgot what trust means. Didn't trust anyone, don't trust people I work, there's always that little sliver of not trusting in my head. And I had to detune that. It was It was work. It was work. But oh my gosh, it's like now it's interesting because when you get to a certain point, for example, I would avoid people in the past that I didn't have a good vibe with. And now I sort of like to play with them, not playing mentally, but I mean okay, we don't see things eye to eye. How do you see things? And so I'm like, I can work with people who aren't like me, and I can feel my way through it instead of saying, "Oh, I'm avoiding you. You're this that I don't believe in. You that I don't believe in. I don't like how you do this." I mean, it's like it opens up the avenues because you really see we're not all the same. And if we trust ourselves, we trust how we operate, then we can play with anybody. It's really cool. No, seriously, it's really cool.
So what you're talking about is by increasing your ability to appreciate and to accept others who you would have had trouble accepting in the past, your trust level increases as a byproduct.
Right. And it's not necessarily like, I'm not going to play with a tiger and expect not to be bitten. It's not like that. Okay. It's not like I'm going to trust that I'm not going to be mugged. I'm going to walk down the street with all my jewelry on and my purse. And no, it's not like that. It's not this like world of gullibility. It's not like I've opened up this world of making myself vulnerable like that. It's very personalized. It's trusting that I know what's good for me. It's trusting that I know where the path that I'm on is good for me. And when it doesn't feel good, I adjust it.
Yeah.
And if this person proves that I really don't want to work with them, then they're out of my experience, or I don't even attract them to me in the first place. So it's I don't know. It's really hard to put my finger on it.
Well, you're doing it pretty well, I'd have to say.
Yeah, different in like the best way possible.
Yes. Oh, yes. Thank you. That's this. So, I mean, I when I first started boot camp and I attacked that first module, that first module.
Look out.
It was like, to me, it was just sort of kept circling around that first module and circling around. And finally I had to say, okay, I'm going to go to the second module. Goodbye, first module. I'll come back to you. Did the second module. It's still because it was based on the first module. Go back to the first module. And it was just accepting where I'm at on this process, how it's okay that I'm going to make this process look the way I want it to look. Even David says, hey, you got to make it work for you. Right. And I just made it work. I'm making it work. That's it.
That's exactly right.
Except for the cold.
You just needed rest.
Well, yeah.
She said you need a little rest, a little self-care. Yeah.
A little self-care. Yeah.
We'll turn it around. No big deal.
But we did come in. Yeah.
You and I came in about the same time, and you're actually about ready to graduate. I'm dragging my heels here. I got to get up to speed a little bit. But my point is, we've been into the boot camp thing for about the same number of months. Bridge is relatively newer. What's your biggest experience of transition so far, Bridge? What's the biggest change you've seen in yourself?
I always notice where my vibe is, and if it's not good or I don't feel good, my energy's low, whatever. I notice it very quick, but I notice it quicker now than ever, and I cannot stay in that. Like, it depends what it is. If it's super low vibe, then I can sit in it for a moment, feel the emotions, figure out why, and get through that. But other than that, if I'm just feeling like, not up my spiral, not, high vibe, really icky at all. I just can't stay there.
How long does it take you to notice, do you think?
Not long, literally minutes. And I'm feeling gross and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go do something else. Yeah.
And say before you joined boot
good for
camp,
you.
How long would it have taken you before you joined, do you think, to notice something?
I could have sat there for like literally 2 hours. Now it's like minutes. Wow. And I'm like, I'm going to go do whether it's the dishes, that's like me and Walt's low thought activity that we do. I'll, go do that, go dance, if it's sunny out, I'm going outside. I always go on my walk in the morning, but if I need to go on an additional one, I told myself the other day, then like that's happening. I need to move. If I'm not feeling good, I'm not just gonna, I do not sit there any longer. I would sit or stay in just situations longer than I should have.
That's really interesting, because what you just described, wanting to make a change within minutes, is what I've been experiencing. That's precisely the same result that I've been experiencing. And I started experiencing it about the same time in my journey as you are right now in your journey.
Oh, that's cool.
That's really fascinating.
That is.
Yeah, that turn, that no longer willing to just put up with something, right? I mean, no longer willing to just like accept and forget.
Yeah, or sit there and
Well, sometimes I'm actually willing to accept it, but I just can't help but notice it.
Yeah, it's in your
noticing
face.
Happens really fast. Now I have a decision to make. Okay, am I willing to live with this, or do I actually want to raise the vibration? And sometimes I'll actually choose to sit with it for a little bit.
Right.
But the noticing, it used to be noticing was hard. It's not hard anymore.
Yeah.
There's nothing hard about it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a big component. I mean, it's just,
It is. It's huge, because when you notice, then you can do something. Then the decision is in front of you. Now you're in control. Now it feels like you actually have control of that steering wheel.
Yeah.
When you're not noticing, it feels like the steering wheel is like doing a disappearing act on you. Now you see it, now you don't.
Yeah.
right. Because when you realize that we are in control of our own vibration, then we have the power, and we no longer, we're just not going to throw things to, there's no chance anymore. Are we going to have a good time? We're going to have a bad time. Is this going to be a good experience? Is this going to be a bad experience? It's like, no, we're just going to let's set our intention and make our experience what we want it to be.
Yes, that one's huge too. When I started setting an intention, I mean, I would used to do it like throughout the day, but now that I do it in the beginning of the day and throughout the day, that's another huge one for me.
Have you seen things, Bridge? Have you seen things changing for you? I see that you're very aware of your own change, but have you been seeing things outside of yourself changing for you? People saying anything, experiences happening? I'm just curious.
I wouldn't say anything out of the ordinary, because before I would also like the easy one, set an intention to get your good parking space, things like that. But like those things they do happen. I mean, but it's nothing, I guess, nothing super noticeable, like different. You know what I mean? Because I've done that before and stuff,
Oh, right. But
if I'm high vibe, I know I'm meeting people who are high vibe, or if they're low vibe, they're not really going to come near me. Not really going to you know what I mean? So that is like super prevalent and in my face as well, but it's kind of always been there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because
I still love it though.
Go ahead, Walt. Sorry.
That's all right. I know in my case that when I look back at how this journey has been going since joining boot camp, I see how largely it's about my own perspective changing. And you mentioned, you get these things coming to you that they're not necessarily things that you like. And that's part of being alive. That's just what happens.
Sure.
What I've been experiencing is these things come along and I just don't care about them anymore. Stuff that I used to latch onto and try to fight back against, it just doesn't even matter.
Right.
Which is a really different perspective. In fact, one of my things, one of the three transgressors, the three transgressors that the stream identified for me, the first one, they were dead on about, although I had done a lot of work already before I joined boot camp to detune it. The second one, I knew about, I didn't really think it was an issue anymore. And the third one was a brand new idea I'd never even considered it before. And since going through the modules as far as I've gotten, I'm just finishing 13 now out of 17. Through that point, I can say that the third one really never turned into a transgressor. It was never really a big deal for me. The second one, I pretty much detuned that one years ago. The first one, I still had some, what we call in the group, vibrational dust. I still had some of that going on. So it was good getting rid of that and moving that out of the way. But the most important thing that happened with it is my experience of situations where that kind of thing can kick up has changed. And I'll give you an example of that. In my case, my first transgressor, my family for generations back had one bad experience after another financially, including with failed businesses. And I had an entire line of people who I descended from who were ne'er-do-wells essentially in terms of business. Nobody was successful in business. And I love what the stream said about it. The stream said that for me, my first transgressor was the family curse. They said, this isn't a phrase for everybody else. This is just for you. You have this family curse that you need to really work on overcoming, which I thought was kind of amusing. The funny thing is that, or maybe not so funny, is that in my own business experiences, and I've had some success with business, which that's a good thing, but I haven't had that overwhelming success yet that I was really looking for. And I've been looking for it for years now. So that was a big motivation in getting involved in TIA in the first place. But that I would encounter like a new business or a new business idea, or I'd be, on the path of some sort of business development. And in the past, I would run into certain situations, and these certain negative situations would come up. And the way I would react most often was either to run away from it, to shut down the business, to give up on the idea, something along that line. Now, I have this Facebook thing that I'm working on. I got a developer who's doing this big project for me. And now I'm having a different experience with it. I still feel some of those tugs from the past, the way I would have felt about it. But I'm experiencing it differently in that I ask myself, what's my next step? What's the next thing I have to do?
Yeah.
Because I'm a doer. I think a lot of us are doers. And I'm definitely a doer. I'm not just a doer. I'm a multitasker. Got to get all this stuff done. And I'm good at it. I'm really good at multitasking. It tears me apart, but I'm really, really good at it. Well, I have set things up so well, I don't have anything to do. And that doesn't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And so I've actually had to learn to just be comfortable with this thing that I have always felt was uncomfortable. I just have to be patient, let my programmer do his work. I have an employee who's she's doing some creating of content basically for the groups. She's doing her stuff, and my job is just to wield the baton and say, okay, go, let's get the symphony going here. And that's my job. So I actually get up every day and I think to myself, okay, so what's the next thing I have to do? And there's nothing else to do.
Oh, it gives you more time to work on TIA.
Well, it does. And it's in essence, that's what I'm doing. I'm actually learning to let go of this idea that I have to keep doing.
Because it's trusting. See,
exactly.
And along, I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice, and I might have to get off here real soon. But so we have a pool. I don't like pools. Okay, I inevitably have to take care of this pool. We had this guy taking the care of the pool. It's not really working out. Okay, so my husband's like, well, please, can you help me? Can you find a pool guy? It's like, oh my God, I hate the pool. I have to find a pool guy. So of course, I put it out of my mind. 3 weeks later, hey, have you found a pool person? Nope, not yet. Hey, the guy's working. He's already doing the pool. It's okay. It's not green. It's all right. We're good. 3 weeks later, hey, have you found a pool person? Then my husband's really losing patience. And so I'm driving to work. And I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta find a pool person. And out comes this truck in front of me with a pool service. So I made note of the telephone number, and then I called. I looked online. 2 more people on the Nextdoor app. 2 more people I called, and the third guy I called, he said I can be out there tomorrow for a quote. I'm like, cool. He's personable. This and this and this. Perfect. My husband comes out, talks to him. You're hired. The very first person that comes over gives us a quote. You're hired. So I told one of the guys, hey, look, sorry, we found a pool guy. He said, sorry, I dragged my feet. Keep me in mind if you need help. I said, great, thanks. The second guy, I forgot to call. And cancel him coming over. And I apologized to him when he called and said, hey, look, I'm on my way over. I'm like, oh, gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't call you. I should have canceled. And he went off on me.
No.
how that's not professional, yada, yada. And I'm like, holy, excuse me, language shit. I'm so glad I didn't hire you.
Right.
Yeah.
And that might have been the first person on the van, the first number, but it's like the clarity, right? So when I was ready to move, when I was actually wanting to move on it, it happened. But when I just don't push me, because if I'm not feeling it, if it happens, it's going to be crap. I'm just telling you, if you're going to make me do something, I'm not in the vibrational space to make that decision. You're just going to get, just more of the same, because especially dealing with something that I don't like the pool, I had to come to it on my own terms.
Well, it's a great point. Know your own vibe. You have to know how you're feeling. You have to recognize. That's the thing that we were talking about a moment ago. Can you recognize how you're feeling in this moment in time? And you were recognizing over and over again, nope, it's not now. Nope.
And so what it looks like,
now.
Right. But what it looks like from people like, my husband, who has no clue on what, Taya, and he doesn't want to hear about it. It looks like I'm procrastinating. It looks like procrastination. It looks like me dragging my feet. It looks like me not paying attention. It looks like whatever, and I had to tell him, look, the pool's not green. It's all good. In fact, the guy that we had was putting so many chemicals in the pool that the pool was caustic. It would probably be like that. Okay. For months, the way it is, because it's so bad. It's so bad. And so I knew that it was all good. I got the water tested. We can't put our hands in that. We'll get burned. It's all good. We're just, I got a good guy now, going to drain that pool, and all is good. But I mean, it's really, we can't be inspired by, when we need gas for our car, we better get gas, right? Whether we're inspired to get gas or not, we better get gas. If we're hungry, we better eat, whether we're inspired to eat or not. We just better do it. We just have to do it. We live on a physical plane. But when it comes to things like pool guys, I'm going to be inspired. I'm taking inspiration.
That's cool. Now,
There
of course,
you go. Follow your gut.
Now, another piece to the Taya practice, and not just Taya, well, actually a lot of different courses and master approaches and so forth, is the appreciation of stuff that we don't like so much. It's the most advanced part of it, actually appreciating what we consider to be negative. And it's a skill. It takes practice. It's not easy the first few times. You can get better at it, which is all very exciting. It's very encouraging, but it's still that challenge. And the funny thing happens, I'm curious to know if you guys are experiencing this. For me, this is all part and parcel of what I mentioned earlier, where I just don't care anymore. Stuff happens, I don't care anymore. If I encounter what used to be a transgressor person or a transgressor event or a negative event, something I just don't like anymore, or a negative commentary by somebody or whatever, the I don't care is what comes out in my experience, but the way I interact with it is actually on the border of appreciation. I'm actually now able to see, well, I don't necessarily want to be that person, or I don't necessarily want to be in that experience, or I don't want to have that situation happening, but I can at least appreciate those who are in it, what they're getting out of it.
Sure.
And just that level of appreciation is huge. That level of appreciation just wipes a whole bunch of stuff that used to be a trigger off the table entirely.
Yeah, and things don't bother you anywhere.
So you guys are experiencing that same kind of thing.
Yeah. For sure. Absolutely.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, things that would have brought me way further down before don't bring me as down, or some things that would just bring me, a little down won't bring me down, or, I'll get up and change it. Like I said,
it's like yesterday's high becomes today's low kind of thing, and I feel like I'm losing my voice. So maybe I should say goodbye to everybody. Aww. I'm sorry. I'm going mute because I can't talk anymore. So thank you, guys.
We'll get some tea. I hope you feel better.
Thank you, all of you.
Focus on that happy healing.
I will. I will. Happy days, guys.
Yes.
Have a good one.
We'll see you in boot camp.
Bye.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. But this boot camp experience truly is amazing, because we're describing a situation, Bridge, where we end up having an improvement, major improvement on something like this. And yeah, we kind of went into boot camp hoping it would happen, but we didn't really work on it, did we?
No, I kind of went into boot camp just knowing it was gonna. I'm like, something's gonna happen. Something's gonna change. Something great. I don't know. I completely did trust when I did just make that final move that week of like, okay, I want to do it, but and that doubt and the money and this and that. No, as soon as I did do it, I was like, I'm all in, dude. This is happening and good things are coming and I'm ready for them all. And the meditation that they take you through, that definitely made me realize more of what I want to do in life. And I really didn't have a direction before. And some of it was like part of what I thought I wanted to do. But when I went on that meditation and afterward and seeing I totally could, I just had so much more clarity on where I want to go with things like career wise. Yeah, everything. So yeah, it's already helped me in a lot of ways. And I think it's week 4.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's already helped me immensely, but I knew it would. I did. I knew the power of it, whether that was because of you, David, I don't know. I didn't listen to any testimonials. I'm not going to lie. But I obviously knew you and, you know what I mean? People on your show, Debbie, and David, obviously. And then I was listening to his podcast and his YouTube channel and, you know, everything he has as well. So like, I don't know. Once I did do it, I did not have a doubt.
And I get that about you because you are very decisive. You are a decisive person. But it's interesting that you're describing how you didn't have a clear vision for where you wanted to go in life. And that's one of the things that you do early on. It's one of the first few modules is trying to basically create what we call in Thai your new operating system, which is your new way of thinking about things, but also your new set of goals. Where are you going to? What are you going to use this stuff for? And apparently you took that part to heart in a big, big way.
Yeah, it helped me a lot because for a while, and I think a lot of people are in the same boat, especially when you are in your 30s, it is more of when you're like, okay, I've been doing this for so long. I could be amazing at it, but do I want something more? Do I want something different? Is this fulfilling my soul? And then it's like, no, but it's like, okay, but what will? You know, that is always the hard part. What do I want to do? What will make me happy? And, you know, you can figure out what's going to make you happy for right now. You don't need to know what's going to make you happy for your entire future and whatever, you know. And just to be gentle with yourself. And if you do change your mind, you change your mind. But whatever it is that you think you want now, make steps and go for it. And don't think that anything is too big. That is one of my biggest things. I always thought things were too big. I couldn't do this. I couldn't do that. I couldn't have. Why? Like, you know what I mean? It was I think my biggest takeaway also from module 1 was that I think that I had like basically no self-worth, I swear, for I don't even know how many years. But I think that is most of us, to be honest, because I think we're kind of all conditioned that way. But that one was huge for me.
I have to say, I'm quite honestly a little bit surprised by that because you always came off to me as being so self-confident. So it's actually a good message for people to hear because here you are coming off as being self-confident and you're admitting, well, I wasn't all that confident at all.
Not at all.
That's helpful to people because we often look at other people and say, oh, well, you know, they've got their crap together. They know what's going on. Well, not necessarily. Not necessarily.
I didn't have like an ounce probably until like 8 years ago. Like literally, I did not have any. And I can clearly see that when I was journaling during module 1 and everything. Just my entire, like literally life until like 8 years ago, it was blatantly obvious that I didn't have any because of all of these things that I was just manifesting in my life. It was just, journaling. You think you don't want to do it. I mean, I personally didn't really like journaling, but once I start, it sometimes it's like insane. And what you find out about yourself is pretty amazing. And I think people don't want to start doing it because they're like, oh, I don't know how to even start it. I don't want to do it. It's like, dude, just try it. Just
Yeah, I agree
try
with
it.
that. And it is a little bit of a challenge on a number of different levels. In my case, I had a big block over journaling by hand. And they actually give you this really nice looking physical bound book journal to write
Yeah.
in. And I wrote my first page and a half, and my hand was screaming with pain. Like I want to throw this whole thing out the window. That's how much pain I was experiencing.
Yeah.
Until that's really where I first learned that there are no rules and you can just do this whatever way you want to. Oh, okay. I'm going to type my journal. To heck with this because I don't like this handwriting thing at all.
Right.
So
And
I
didn't
had
you
to let that
start
go.
typing away after that?
I did, yeah, and it was
Yeah.
much easier
Okay.
for me. Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't looked at the actual page count lately, but I can tell you that my typed journal is many, many pages. We got like a mini novel going on right now. So
Nice.
yeah, and that's huge for me because there was a
Yeah.
time I would not have journaled about anything.
That's what I thought. I did not think you were a journaler either.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
I wasn't a journaler, and I wasn't a meditator before I did this.
Meditation's always been different for me. Yeah.
And when I made the commitment here on the show to do it, there was a piece of me that was saying, "Are you crazy? You don't like doing any of that stuff."
It's even better though, because then it's like, no, I'm gonna do it. I signed up for this. Like now I'm gonna do all this, whether, but then it's also like, okay, I don't want to push myself because then you go back to the whole hammering thing. So it's that whole fine line and balance of like everything.
Well, I think that's the difference between commitment and commitment to it's got to be done yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah. And
You
I feel like
without feeling like you have to get it all done now.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is a process. It's designed to be a process. It's designed to be 12 weeks. Never mind that it's taken a lot more than 12 weeks. That's what it's designed for. So you don't want to try to get it done in a week. That would actually undermine the whole process. Oh yeah,
you would not get anything out of it. That's why anytime I feel like stale doing it, I'm like, okay, get up. You're just not supposed to, you're not going to get anything out of it right now. So come back to it. And then I go back and then it's like, I'm like higher than ever. I'm like, thank God I came back now because that meditation, I could do it. And earlier I wasn't able to mentally do it, whether it was thoughts just, kept creeping in or whatever it was, But
I just opened up my electronic journal to see how many pages. I didn't know how many pages it was. I knew it was a lot. 32 pages, 13,800 words I've written, and I'm not a journaler.
Yeah. It's a powerful tool that, it can be very like a little off-putting at first, but then it's very worthwhile. Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I had to kind of push myself a little bit to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't something that just came easily, but that's where the commitment comes in because I joined with a commitment to actually get the growth out of it that I wanted to get the improvement that I wanted to get. And that's what enabled me to say, okay, all right, I'm going to do today's exercise. I really don't want to do it, but I'll do it anyway. Yeah. And then the next time, okay, I really don't want to do today's exercise either, but I'll do it anyway. And just one step after another in little tiny increments, you get there. You just get there. I certainly didn't write those 32 pages in a week. I wrote that over the course of 15, 16 weeks.
Yeah. And then you realize that you feel so much better, after you did it, but didn't do it in the hammering way or, you know what I mean? Just to get it done. Because if I did it just to get it done, I would have just been pissed after because I would have been like knowing in the back of my head that I didn't get out of it what I wanted to. But yeah, when you want to get stuff out of Thai boot camp is very, it's an amazing thing. It's really is like seriously such a blessing.
I agree with you. By the way, JB is saying hello in the live stream. So hi, JB. Glad to see you. Glad you can make it.
Hello.
We're talking Thai boot camp because we've been 3 boot campers until Janine had to drop off because her voice was failing her. She got a little bit of a cold, but that's all right. She got all of her stuff in. It gave us more chance for us to hear from you and me. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Something else I wanted to ask you about with boot camp. When you first came into boot camp, I was, of course, we all see each other during the weekly meetings because there's a weekly meeting for boot campers. There's actually 2 of them, and you get your choice. You can go to both of them if you want, or you can just go to one. We all tend to go to the Tuesday one, so we'll be seeing each other in another 2 or 3 hours. But when I first saw, first of all, I was shocked, and I was surprised and happy that you joined boot camp. But the second thing I saw was something that I'm not used to seeing in you, and that was a shyness.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that.
And tell me if I'm wrong. My guess is that the shyness comes from what I was feeling my first week in boot camp, which is, okay, how does this go? I feel like I'm a fish out of water here.
Oh yeah, 100%. You're like, okay, what's going on here? But it's also, it was awesome because I knew I was coming into like a really cool, like a community of people. So I was excited, but a little nervous because you don't know what you're getting into. You don't know what you're about to Zoom call, hop onto. I didn't look into anything. Like I told you, I didn't even read watch one testimonial of it. It's like at all. Yeah. Like,
my testimonials was interviewing David. That was it.
right. Yeah. I mean, honestly, and listening to him and you, like that's all I needed. And so I was definitely a little shy at first. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And yet you find your own way. And it doesn't take long because you get a lot of, well, first of all, it's a very supportive group. That helps a lot.
Yeah.
But it's easy to pick up the cues. And I think that was probably my biggest fear going in, that, oh, geez, would I be able to figure out what's going on here? But it doesn't actually take all that much. Even though so much, this is really weird. A lot of it isn't spelled out in the modules. But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because you pick it up anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, first, sometimes I'll go through one and I'll be like, wait a second. And then I'll just read, go through the module and I'll be like, oh, okay, I get it now. At first I'm like, wait a second. Because some of them are very detailed, like a lot, so I'll go back and be like, I'll have to
And there's a lot of repetition in them too. JB,
which is good.
There is. Oh, it's very good. Yeah.
Yeah,
JB,
I need that.
Did you guys ever watch any of his videos? Well, actually, I helped make some of them. Not in the boot camp videos, but the videos through LOA Today. So that was my exposure to his videos. But I didn't spend a whole lot of time on his videos. Did you see any of his videos?
On his YouTube, I watched, but the podcast, both,
Oh, you did watch his podcast.
Yeah, now, I've been listening to his podcast and his YouTube channel for at least a year. I'm bad with time.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you did get that exposure. I didn't have that at all.
Whenever he was on with you, when I started, I feel like, or whenever I first heard him on with you is when I started. I feel like.
Which is, that's about a little over a year ago. So that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
So. Yeah.
Yeah.
His episodes with you were always amazing. Like the 5 tips around the holidays. One of my favorite. One of my favorite. You can go back to that one and apply that to every day, any day, always.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think that's why I kept having him back, because there was so many. Well, first of all, I made him a co-host for a while, so he was on for about 6 months.
Like 6 months, yeah.
Yeah, and that was great. And then we kind of pretty much talked about everything we could talk about where Tyra was concerned. So it was time for him to move on to other stuff. But I felt like I'd gotten everything I needed. So when it came time to actually decide, do I want to do type boot camp? I didn't feel like I needed to learn anything else. Do I want to do this or don't I want to? That's it.
Yeah. I was wondering if I could do it on my own with just listening to all of your stuff, all of his stuff. He has so many different platforms, you know what I mean? And then I was like, no, I don't know. Something was like, do it. Like, no, and you get more out of it 100% if you're in it versus, but he does offer a lot not being in it, but being in it, you get a lot out of it. A lot.
No doubt. Well, and you get all the work put into it. So
that's very true.
It goes hand in hand, right?
For sure.
So, well, personally, I'm glad that you're a part of it. I'm glad that Janine's a part of it. I'm glad we've had a number of listeners who have become part of boot camp. So I applaud everybody who's made that decision. And to those who have not made the decision, no, that's perfectly okay.
Oh yeah.
If you never decide to, that's perfectly okay too. And if you decide to, hey, we'll be glad to see you there. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely.
All right. Well, this has been good. Thank you very much. Good talking to you guys again after this long
I know
drought that we had there, but that was
I know.
So, and thank you, especially to podcast listeners everywhere. We will see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you.